Today we will be talking about the angle addition postulate. Now you may remember the segment addition postulate, which basically said if I had, a segment here, and we knew that this part of the segment was 7, this one was 3, and we wanted the whole segment, we would add them up to get 10. That is the same idea here for the angle addition postulate. So if I have my angle over here, the angle right here, angle RSP, and angle PST, that is equal to the whole angle RST. So the two smaller angles make up the whole angle. So the sum of the measures is the measures of angle, we said RSP and PST. And like I said yesterday, you could rewrite these angles as angle PSR or angle TSP. And then more generally, we could say that the measure of angle RST is equal to the measure of angle RSP plus the measure of angle PST. So this is more of a generalization right here. Well, I don't want to use that color. That looks a little better. This is more the generalization. So let's look at some examples. Given that the measure of angle GFJ is 155, find the measure of angle GFH and the measure of angle HFJ. So we know that the whole angle here is 155 degrees. So if we add these two angles, that should add up to 155 degrees. So let's go ahead and set this equation up. So 4x plus 4 plus 4x minus 11 equals 155. So let's combine like terms. We have 4x plus 4x, or 8x. 4 minus 1 is positive 3. And that equals 155. So then we subtract 3 from both sides. We get 8x equals 152. And then finally, we will divide both sides by 8. So x is equal to 19. But that's not what the question asks. The question asks to find the measures of each angle. So make sure we do that. The measure of angle GFH is 4 times x. Well, x is 19 plus 4. We type that in the calculator, we'll get 80 degrees. Make sure you have your units on here. Angles are measured in degrees. Then the measure of angle HFJ is equal to, I'm going to do 155. Let's do it this way. We can do 4 times 19 minus 1, and that gives us 75 degrees. You could have said, well, if I know this part right here is 80 degrees and the whole thing is 155, you could do 155 minus 80, and that gives you 75 degrees as well. I sometimes shy away from that because what if this 150 right here is incorrect? Then I'm using an incorrect answer right here. I'm using an incorrect answer right here to get my other answer, which will therefore be incorrect. So unless I'm in a hurry, I like to take the time to plug in x into each equation separately. And then just to double check, what is 80 plus 75? Well, that is 155, which is what we were given originally. if these two numbers here didn't add up to 155, then I know that I did something wrong and that I needed to go back and check. If you had done it this way instead, did 155 minus 80, you would not be any wiser. If you wouldn't be aware that you made a mistake. So that's why I don't like to do that sometimes. All right, let's look at the next example. It says, given that angle VRS is a right angle, so right then and there, we know that this is 90 degrees. Find the measure of angle VRT, which is this angle right here, and the measure of angle TRS, which is this one right here. So we know these two angles need to add up to the whole thing, which is 90. So x minus 4 plus 3x plus 2 is equal to 90. So then we will combine like terms again. So x plus 3x is 4x. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. And that equals 90. Let's add 2 to both sides. 4x then equals 92. Divide both sides by 4, and x is equal to 23. So again, we got to go and make sure that these are correct by plugging in our values. So the measure of angle VRT is x, which was 23, minus 4, so that gives us 19 degrees. So yeah, you could go now 90 minus 19 and get 71, but I don't like to do that. Like I said, so let's use the actual formula. So the measure of angle TRS equals 3 times 23 plus 2. And then when I do type that in the calculator, I get 71 degrees. So because of that, I am confident that these are my answers. If you add those up, you do get 98 degrees. Let's look at example number 3. Identify all pairs of congruent angles in the diagram. If the measure of angle P is 115 degrees, what is the measure of angle N? So we talked about this the other day, that these markings is how we show angles to be congruent. So we know angle P and N are congruent. Up here, these have 2 markings. That means these 2 angles are congruent to each other. Let's draw that better. So these angles are congruent. And that means these angles are congruent. And since the measure of angle P is 115 degrees, the measure of angle N is also 115 degrees. Now, just like what we talked about for segments, you don't have to write this down. I'm just going to do some scratch work. If I have, 4 segments here, and these 2 are congruent, and then these 2 are congruent, but these 2 ones that I marked in blue are not congruent to the ones I marked in black, you need a different number of tick marks. So these 2 segments that I had the black tick mark are congruent. The 2 segments where I have 2 blue tick marks are congruent, but they're not congruent to each other. I have 2 sets of congruent segments. Same idea over here with angles. Angles P and N both have 1 little marking there, so they're congruent to each other. Angle L and M both have 2 little arcs there, so the angles L and angles M are congruent to each other. But angle L and angle P are not congruent. So I know that sounds a little bit confusing because a bunch of letters are going around there. Just know that for angles to be congruent, they have to have the same number of little arc markings in the picture. All right, let's look at example number 4. It says in the diagram, ray WY bisects angle XWZ, and the measure of angle XWY is 34 degrees. Find the measure of angle XWZ. So let's label this. That'll help us out. XWY is 34 degrees. Well, if this line right here, sorry, this ray WY bisects the whole bigger angle, that means angle ZWY must also be 34 degrees. So then the measure of angle XWZ, the whole angle, is 34 plus 34, which is equal to 68 degrees. Okay. Remember, bisect means that the angle is cut in half. And then our final example, it says ray WY bisects angle XYZ. Find the measure of angle XWZ. And then example number 5, kind of the same directions. We have ray WY bisects angle XWZ, but we don't have a picture. So let's follow this hint right here and draw a picture of angle XWZ. And again, I know W goes in the middle because W is in the middle right here. Then we have ray WY that bisects the angle. So these two angles are congruent. It says the measure of XWY is 2x plus 26. And the measure of angle YWZ is 6x minus 34. So 6x minus 34. We are asked to find the measure of XWZ, the whole angle. So then we're going to have to set these two angles equal to each other because we know they are equal. So 2x plus 26 is equal to 6x minus 34. So then we can solve this. We're going to subtract 2x from both sides. We get 26 equals 4x minus 34 plus 34 plus 34. So then we get 60 is equal to 4x. Then we divide both sides by 4. X is equal to 15. So then I'm going to plug this in for my angles. It doesn't matter which one you plug it into. They're both equal. So you could just plug it in for one of the angles and then multiply it by 2. That would work. Or you can multiply it into both of them to make sure you get the same answer. You should get the same answer. But if you don't, that means you did some math wrong somewhere. So let's plug them in. Let's plug x into both angles. All right, I have some room down here. So the measure of angle XWY is 2 times 15 plus 26. We put that in the calculator and we get 56. Then the measure of angle YWZ is 6 times 15 minus 34. And I hope we get 56 when I type this into the calculator, because if not, that means I've messed something up. I get 56. And then for the whole angle, we would need to do 56 plus 56, and that is equal to 112 degrees. So the whole angle is equal to 112 degrees. Now you may be saying, well, this angle is not 112 degrees, it's less than 90. I understand that. We were just drawing this to give us an idea of what was going on because it's very confusing looking at all these words up here to really know what's going on. But as soon as we have a picture, things are much easier to visualize. So this is just a model. The model is not perfect, but trust in the math that we got this answer. Now, on the next page, we have some constructions. Again, I'm not going to do the constructions in video. We'll do those in class. So that's it for the video. I hope that this made sense. And if you got, if you understood the segment addition postulate, then you're probably breezed through this with no problem. So if you need to, watch the video again. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe.